Hey, I'm Ryan Ashley, and today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different ear wire styles. I love earrings, but I don't always want the exact same ear wire for every pair. So this way you're going to have a little bit of variety, and I hope you'll take some inspiration from this activity today and then make some with your own little flair. Let's go ahead and walk through the supplies and tools you're going to need. I love working with 20 gauge wire for ear wires. It's the perfect size for every ear. Then I also have a round nose plier, bent chain nose plier, flat nose plier, flush cutter, and I have here a bail shaping plier or mandrel. Also have a bench block and a hammer. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the 3 different ear wires we're going to create. We have this one, which is a pretty simple one. I really love this for dangling just a single bobble on the bottom. And then we have your classic French ear wire. Pretty standard look, classic, simple, beautiful. And then we have one of my favorites. This one, which is made with an extra large loop at the bottom, which makes a little dangle feel a lot more fancy. All right, let's start with this simple dimple. All right, so I'm going to grab one of my pieces of wire. This is 20 gauge, and this is about 2 to 3 inches. You won't need all of it, or maybe you will. Depends on how long you want it. You can make it even longer if you want. So using my round nose plier, I'm going to start at the end. I'm going to put a little bit of overlap there. We've got some wire hanging out, and I have it pushed up about 4 to 5 millimeters on the shaft of the tool. I'm going to bend it over to create that bottom loop. And now when you first create it, it doesn't have that nice 90-degree angle that you want. So we're just going to push that tool back in and kind of bend this back until you get that nice look that you're aiming for with your ear wire. Once you have that, I'm going to decide how far up I want to make my ear wire. I'm just going to do right there. So I take my round nose plier and I simply bend it over. Now at this point, I can decide whether or not I want this longer piece to stay long for effect, or I could even make it a little shorty. So I'll show you what that would look like. Take my flush cutters and just snip it. So you have a different look there now. Really, your dangle, whatever you add, is going to be the hero. But if you wanted, you could have kept that long and had a nice, really long, minimalist earring look. So now the only thing I've got left to do, and this isn't necessary, it's just something I like, is just do a little hammer at the bottom. And I kind of like to hammer this part too, just because hammering the wire gives it a little bit of hardness, helps it keep its shape, and helps it be durable. Perfect. So when I was hammering, the loop at the bottom came open a little bit. That's totally normal. When you hammer metal, the molecules expand just a bit, and some of your shapes will change a little bit. So all I did was grab my flat nose tool, and then also my round nose, just to kind of work on that shape a little bit to make sure that it was that perfect round shape that I wanted. And in fact, what I realized is that this might actually be a tiny bit long. So I'm going to grab my flush cutters and just barely shorten that little piece. Let me get up here. So I'm just going to grip it right near the edge. I'm holding it close so nothing flies up at me. And then I just clipped it. So now it really is pretty much perfect. Just closing that up just a tiny bit more. There we go. Let's go ahead and work on that classic French ear wire shape. I'm going to go ahead and grab that 2 to 3 inches of 20 gauge wire. I grab my round nose plier and create that little loop right at the bottom first. Now I'm going to place my wire with a little bit of overlap right around, a third of the way up the shaft of my round nose plier tool. And then I wrap it around. It's not quite the angle I want, so I go back in, bend it back to create that nice 90-degree shape. And now I'm going to take my bail shaping plier I'm going to use the bigger side of it. So I grip it right here. And now, like the other ear wire, you could go much further up the wire and create a really dramatic, long swooping ear wire. We're just going to go a little bit further down though, so we can create that classic simple look. So I just wrap this around, and then I pull my tool to the end, and I just barely give it a little bit of a tweak so that we get that nice, pretty angle right at the bottom. Now with my flush cutters, I simply place them where I want to cut, hold the wire so it doesn't fly all over the place, snip, and we're pretty much good to go. I'm just going to give this a light hammer because I want to harden that metal and make sure it's durable, long-lasting, and really holds its shape. Now again, we get a little bit of opening there, so I'm just going to grab one of my pliers. This time I want to try the bent chain nose plier and just use that to kind of close it up. And there you go. There's ear wire number 2. So for the final ear wire, let's go ahead and make my favorite. I love this. Sometimes I wear this just as is with no dangle at all, and it's just a really nice, simple, classic look. So the first thing I do is grab my bail shaping plier and my 2 to 3 inches of 20 gauge wire. Now I'm using the smaller side of this, making sure that, just like with the round nose plier, my wire is hanging off the edge just a little bit. And then I'm wrapping it around. And then I move it so that I make sure to get that full, perfectly round shape by continuing to wrap this. We have a bit of overlap there. That's totally fine. So now that I have that overlap, I'm going to take my round nose plier and grip it kind of right in the middle of where that overlap is. And I just want to bend this up to create a stem. We want a 90-degree angle here. So just bend that up. So now here's where we're at. We need to clip that little excess wire, and then we also need to put a bend in the stem to create the rest of that ear wire look. So I'm going to grab my flush cutters, and then I'm going to snip it kind of right at the base of that stem, making sure not to cut all the way through because there is that on the other side that we want to keep intact. Put my finger against this excess wire so it doesn't fly. Snip, and then doop. There we go. We have that nice, beautiful loop. And then I do want to kind of straighten this just a tiny bit. I'll come back down here. Just because it looks a little bit curved. You see how it's bowing that way? So I'm literally just, gosh, there's barely any pressure here. Just very slightly correcting that curve. And now that we're here, we can go ahead and put the bend for the rest of the ear wire. I'm actually going to hold these together because I want to make sure I get them exactly the same. So I use the larger part of the bail shaping plier for this portion. And then I'm going to, see how they're lined up? Pretty much lined up. And then I want to bend this back. And just like before, I want to add a little bit of a curve at the bottom. So just quick dip. And then again, just want to make sure they're the same size. So I hold them up and voila. You now have 3 different fancy ear wire shapes to make and make your own. All right, let's take another look at what we used today. So we have a round nose plier, flat nose plier, a flush cutter, a bent chain nose plier, a bail shaping plier, a bench block, and a hammer. And of course we used 20 gauge wire. Okay, now that you know how to make 3 different styles of ear wires, what do you plan on dangling from yours? I want to know the stones, the colors, the shapes, the sparkle. Tell us in the comments below. And if you want to go ahead and pick up tools and supplies like the ones we used today, you can just check out the description where you'll find all the links. While you're down there, don't forget, like, subscribe, and ring that bell so we can make sure to notify you every time we have more fun activities to share.